shred.
We haven't started playing
Sweet
yet.
Home Alabama, play
Just
it.
got here, man.
You guys shred. 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 You guys shred.
Welcome to You Guys Shred. When the whole band sleeps in a two-person tent, you record in the basement of a smoke shop, and you move to California with nowhere to live. I am your host, Keaton Stewart.
I'm your co-host, Tyler Christensen.
If you guys like the podcast and want to support us, you can go ahead and subscribe, share, and review. It means the world to us. You can check out our own musical project, Poet Bones. We have a brand new single out right now called Where I've Been, and Death Cry of a Crow out on all your preferred streaming platforms. And you can check out our merch at poetbones.com. Today's guest is a very talented, sweet individual. He plays guitar in the band Dead Poet Society. Please enjoy Jack Collins. Thank you so much again for doing the podcast, man.
Oh, no problem. I'm excited to do it.
I guess we should start out with just giving you kind of the condolences, man. I'm sorry to hear about your gear getting stolen, man.
Oh, it was a long time coming. We were unfortunate.
Do you want to kind of tell the story of what happened?
Yeah, well, so we don't have a trailer. We just travel in our 12-passenger van. And so that comes with a risk on its own.
Right.
Like you can see, we use like a cloth to cover everything. Mm-hmm. But you could pretty much see in and see all the gear. So kind of our fault in a way. But so we parked, but this circumstance, we parked it in a valet lot with the hotel, which was like a pretty nice hotel. We got a pretty good deal. And I guess middle of the night, someone just broke the window, stole my 2 guitars, and an amp modeler, and our backing tracks computer. So
the fucking blows. It was like a one-of-a-kind custom guitar too, right?
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. It was our fretless 7-string guitar. But we have one more. The original one that we use. Mm-hmm. So we weren't completely screwed. But it was such a bummer.
Yeah, that sucks so bad. No word from the authorities or anything?
No, we have a police officer in Portland who's helping us out a little bit, keeping his eye out. I guess they sent like a notice to all the pawn shops in the area. But and then I have all like my notifications on for every marketplace app and Craigslist and all that. I'm just every morning checking to see if someone's going to post it. It is what it is, We'll
yeah. Did they bust a window?
Yeah, they smashed the window.
Oh, man.
Is that the first time anything like that's happened, like to that degree?
No, we were in San Francisco a few years ago, and we were playing an acoustic gig for this company, So Far Sounds. And we parked up on the top of this hill, and we went to go check into the gig. It was at like 3 p.m. And we went right back to the van. About 10 minutes later, all the windows smashed.
All of them?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was the back window and the side window. They stole the computer, bunch of other shit. So it wasn't the
worst.
Yeah, dude. No more going without a trailer. That's pretty much our rule now.
Oh, man. I mean, usually we like to start the podcast with how we know the guests. And I guess we first met in like 2019 was it your guys' first U.S. tour with Andreas?
Yeah.
Yeah, we opened up for you guys in Salt Lake. And that was super cool because I was telling you when we were hanging out again on the last tour you guys just did with Broken Love that you guys opened with like Low Air. And we were like, what the fuck? What the hell is that? It was so tight.
Sick, dude. Yeah, I remember that show. That was a fun one. That was our first full U.S. tour with Andreas.
Full U.S. tour.
Well, first full U.S. tour, period. And yeah, Andreas was it was so cool that he just picked us up to go out with them. It was like our first break,
How did that happen? Did he just like you guys and found you guys and asked you to come out on tour?
Well, when we got to L.A., we moved from Boston to L.A. like 5 or 6 years ago. We were just in hustle mode like right away. So we were going out to local gigs every weekend, pretty much trying to meet bands. And Andreas was one of the artists that we met. And Will, our drummer, just made a good relationship with him and kept it going. And we'd known him for like 2 years and we were hanging out with him. And then he just said, let's do it. Like, I'm going out. I'm going to bring you guys. So
That's
there was
so
a little bit
cool.
of cultivating involved.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, I mean, we can kind of go back to the music thing, but I kind of know that obviously since you were talking about moving from Boston to California, and there's no waves or surfing in Boston, how did you start getting into surfing then? Because it seems like you're, I mean, I don't know because I don't surf, but it seems like you're really good at surfing.
Oh, thanks. I'm not really good, but I appreciate it. I actually grew up in New Jersey,
Oh, okay.
right outside of New York. Yeah, so I grew up right on the beach in New Jersey. Well, not right on the beach, pretty close to the beach in New Jersey. And um, there's a pretty cool surf scene over there. It's like sort of underground.
Mm.
And so I discovered that in high school. And then I moved to Boston for college. That's where I met the guys.
Mm.
And I couldn't do really much surfing up there. But moving to California was always part of my dream as a surfer and a musician. So
Do you find it? I was kind of wondering while you're out there, like on the waves and stuff. Does it like how is it like a meditative kind of like reset for you? Do you ever like does that help you think of like song ideas or anything like that while you're out there or clear your head?
yeah, dude, I am the most cliche like spiritual surfer. Surfer douche.
You drop in, whoop-pow, and get pitted.
Yeah, dude. Totally. Yeah, I mean, I need it. It's when we're at home, we're pretty much just writing and recording every day. You know how it is.
Mhm.
So surfing is just it's everything. It's meditative, it's therapeutic, but it's also the biggest adrenaline rush. It's the best workout you can do. It's everything all in one. So I try to do it as much as I can. I try to do it, every day if I can, whenever there's waves. We live close enough to the beach, but when I'm out there in the morning, it's just the easiest way to clear your head, the easiest way to remind yourself how much nothing matters. And it is really inspirational. Like I definitely think of a lot of musical ideas, lyric ideas, whatever it is. It's great.
That's awesome, man. I mean, for those that don't know, you guys kind of self-produce and have been grinding and doing your own thing. You're like, proponents of the DIY thing. So have you always just had that out where like we're just gonna do our own thing and then no one can screw us over or
Well, kind of. I mean, actually recently we've started working with producers
Mhm.
because we have been doing it that way for so long. It's not that we did it that way on purpose necessarily. It's just that everybody we work with, we end up just wanting to take full control. So like we're just such perfectionists and everything needs to be exactly the way we want it. And we haven't really found producers, video directors that have seen exactly what we're trying to do. I mean, we have had some one-off experiences that worked out really well. We worked with a producer called Alex Newport, and he produced a song for us called American Blood. And that one came out exactly how we imagined it. But we went back in the studio with other producers and it's just been so tough. I don't know what it is for us, but it's hard to find people that really connect with exactly what we're going for. But recently, for this new album, we just started working with this producer, Anton DeLost. And he kind of seems to be right in the same vein of what we're trying to do. He's our age and he's really good at making heavy rock, but not metal, but not too soft, this kind of thing. We're just in this like really narrow, at least what we think is this really narrow sound that, you don't want it to be too heavy or too soft. So it's tough. It's tough.
No, I mean it makes sense. I mean any kind of collaborative effort, if you don't have that right person, it's not cohesive. I mean, it's already hard enough as it is to kind of translate your ideas to somebody else, let alone let them kind of take reign and help you create that idea and bring it to fruition. So it makes sense. But I was kind of curious about young Jack. How did you start playing guitar?
Dude,
Or when?
I started playing guitar because of the movie School of Rock.
Yeah, yes, yes.
That is the only reason why I am a musician, really. Like,
Dude, such a good movie.
the movie changed my life. I remember I was in 4th grade, I think, and I went with my friend Jonathan Patch. We both went to go see the movie. Our parents were with us. and we walked out of the movie, and I was a completely different person. And I
Yeah.
said to my friend Jonathan, I said, dude, wasn't that movie like insane? Wasn't that amazing? And he went, yeah, it was okay.
Dude, that's funny that you say that because that was a huge movie for me as well. I think I was in like second grade when we saw it when it came out, and me and my whole like friend group as kids were like so obsessed with it. We're like, because it's not just like I love Back to the Future and anything with guitar on it as a kid, but like seeing them, it's like, oh, they're adults, right? But with School of Rock, they're kids, so you're like you can envision yourself doing it like they are. So it's even more mind blowing. You're like, I want to do that, you know?
Exactly. And I forget what year that movie came out, but at that time, I had not heard any rock music before. I don't know what it was. Like, I was just, all of it was so brand new to me. I didn't know what a power chord was. I didn't know what AC/DC was. And that movie was just like, what is this world? I don't know. We just hadn't been exposed to it until that movie. I don't know what it was.
So were your parents supportive of that, or were they kind of just like, he'll get kind of tired of it after a little bit?
Well, so my mom is a guitar player.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
As a hobby.
Like classical or?
Sort of acoustic, not classical. She played a little classical, but mainly just rock songs on acoustic guitar.
No way.
In her
So
hobby.
she supported it then?
Well, so it's a long story, but after School of Rock, she showed me how to play Smoke on the Water, which when she played it for me on acoustic guitar, it might have been the coolest thing I'd ever heard in my life.
You got a cool mom, man.
Yeah, I do. So I learned how to play guitar shortly after that, but my parents did not think I was going to stick with it. So I didn't get guitar lessons, anything like that. But you know how it is. Some people, especially guitarists at our age, like from the get-go, we just get obsessed. So I became obsessed with guitar right after that. But I was mainly self-taught for a long time until
So what was your first guitar then?
It was a Fender Squire, you know, the Strat Pack, the Squire.
Yeah, you got with the black and the white pickguard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a red guitar. I still have it, I think, with the tiny little Fender amp.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, you crank the gain to all the way up.
Yeah.
That engage button. And it's
The
just
gain's not a volume pedal, Kyle.
And you push that little square button in for the gain to go even higher, and you just play one power chord. It just sounds like that. Oh, I remember.
Just the best, yeah.
It was the best, dude.
Yeah.
So from that point, you getting your first guitar and kind of just being self-taught. At what point do you start your first band?
My first band was not that long after, actually. I had a neighbor. She was my best friend since I was like in first grade, and she played keyboard. And so I called her over, and we just started like writing songs. And I think I was 10 years old. And
Hell
I was
yeah.
so hooked. Like I was so obsessed with it. And we wrote a couple songs, and then we auditioned for the school talent show, actually. And I made it to the talent show, so I played for my school. And I had like a little amp. She was behind me playing keyboard. And it was... I think we got made fun of pretty hard for it.
Were you singing or was it just instrumental?
I was singing too.
Did you guys like demo any of those songs or just record them on phones or anything?
Wasn't quite at the recording phase quite yet. But a few years later, it was only a few years later where I got my first recording back of one of my bands. But since that point, when I was 10, I really didn't go without being in a band. I was always obsessed with like making music and trying to be in a band. Like I moved to New Jersey shortly after that happened, and I started a band right away with my neighbors there. And it just like the cycle just kept continuing.
So you, in a way, like all of that's just building up to finally getting, like you said, moving to Boston, going to college, and then starting Dead Poet Society. How did that kind of happen? Who did you meet in the band first, or? So
when I got to high school, I met still probably my best friend, lifelong, my neighbor, Nick Taylor, who was another guitar player. And we decided to start a metal band when we were 15. It was called Beneath the Poison Tree. And
sick.
That's metal.
Right? Metal is all. We were like prog metal, super techy. And we started taking it really seriously. We were playing gigs pretty frequently. We went through band members left and right. We must have been like 20 or 25 people. I'm not even exaggerating. Like it was 3 years, And every few months there was a new drummer, new singer, new guitar. Like every single one of our friends was in the band at one point. And we for sure thought we were going to be like a touring band and all this. And then college comes around and everything gets disconnected. But him and I stuck together. We went to Boston and we were like, we got to keep this band going. We just got to do it. But we changed the band name. We got a couple new people, and that was Dead Poets Society.
So it started as Beneath the Poison Tree.
Yeah, it absolutely did. I just think like our band goes back to that point when I was 15, really, if I think about it, you know, because it was kind of the same struggle. We just changed the name, changed the sound.
Did any of the songs make it to be like Dead Poet Society songs?
No, I don't think so, actually. Yeah, so we had a couple songs towards the end of Beneath the Poison Tree that were more like alt rock, sort of like early 2000s alt rock, very like not good songs.
It's not good.
It really wasn't good. And we played those in Dead Poets Society, I think, for a little while. But then dude, it's so complicated when you think back on it. It's just like because we switched members again a year after we started Dead Poets Society, and that's when we found Jack, our singer, and Will, our current drummer, and that's the band that we have now. So we were 19 when the current lineup formed, and then when we found them, we weren't playing those alt rock songs. We discovered a whole new sound, which started with us like playing blues riffs. It was just so random. It was like, why aren't we playing metal anymore? You know how it is when you find a new group of people, you just have to try everything, and some stuff sticks and most of it doesn't.
So when that current lineup that you guys have now, when you guys finally came together, was it like a click of like, oh no, this feels right, like this is going to be something special, or was that later down the road?
I think some of us felt it. I felt it. Nick felt it. Will felt it. We sort of forced Jack, our singer, into the band at first. So when we officially like formed, which is when we started jamming, I think it was January of I forget what year, but I know I was 19. We were all 19, so it was about 10 years ago. I felt it. So I booked just like a DIY tour, and I said to everybody, like, you guys want to do this? Let's just go do it. And nobody was even fully committed to the band yet. So I had booked this DIY tour, and we did it, and it was like the best experience of our lives. And after that, we were set. Like nobody was going anywhere.
That's amazing. I feel like that's like the make or break moment for bands. Like at that point, either you guys bond closer or you break up. You know what I mean? Like I think Guns N' Roses had that same kind of story where they had like a whole shitty tour thing, and it actually brought them closer together. Because if you can make it through that, you can make it through anything. So kind of going back to that first tour, do you remember what cities you were hitting? How many dates? Any bad things happened that first tour?
Well, and more importantly, any pizza places.
Yeah, any pizza places.
Plenty of. I'm sure there were plenty of pizza places. Dude, that tour was a train wreck. It was just a train wreck, start to finish. Like I remember, first of all, booking your first DIY tour is almost impossible. It was like one of the hardest things I've done in this band still to this day, because when you have no social media presence, I think we had just recorded a couple songs right like a couple weeks before I started to do it. So there were some recordings that I was sending out, but I had like a list of every single bar venue that I could find in every state on the East Coast, like 20 or 30 or 40, 50 venues. And I think one or two responded to me in each state. So it was so hard to like lock in days, let alone put them in order. But it worked out somehow. So we did like 6 or 7 shows from New Jersey down to South Carolina. And we were trying to find like whose car can we use. We took 2 cars.
You used 2 cars? What cars?
We used Nick's sister's car, who came through at the last minute, because we were going to use my parents' car, and then they backed out. It was this big shit show. And then I got them to let us use the other car, and we almost didn't go. It was so close to like not happening. And the other guys were like, well, you know, we could just do it later on down the road. We don't have to do it now. And I kept saying like, we have to do this. Like, this is so important.
Do you remember what what kind of cars?
I think it must have been like a Prius. Was one.
Oh yeah, first tour
Well,
Prius.
saving on gas money then.
Yeah, and the other one was an SUV that was like 10 years old, and it would like shake when we.
Oh no! Oh no!
But I remember the first night of the tour. Dude, the first day I'll remember forever. It was so fun. It was actually the first gig we ever played.
No way. So you didn't even play shows before. You just go right into touring.
Yeah, we just went right into it because we had played gigs with the former lineup the year before. They were all just pretty crappy gigs. None of them were actually, yeah, they were all terrible. But with the new lineup, I was like, let's just hit the road, see if we can do this. And the first gig we played was this bar in a town called Dover, Delaware. And on Google Maps, it took us to like a cornfield. So it didn't even exist as far as we knew. We drove around for like an hour till we found it in this parking lot. The sign was like hanging off the building, half lit up. We go in, there's like 3 senior citizens at the bar. Went to the stage, you're playing right there. So we set up. It was great. It was great. There were like 7 people there. Every single person after we played was like, man, you guys got something special. Like, I'll give you guys 5 years. We had a couple people say that. And we, after the gig, we didn't have any place to stay. We didn't even think about it. We went
like, oh yeah, we got to sleep somewhere.
Yeah, we found a campsite nearby. We brought a tent that was for 2 people, I think. And there were 4 of us. So we found a campsite nearby. We were using our phones to like set up the tent in the dark. And we all laid flat like this next to each other in the tent.
In the 2-person tent.
Yeah. And I had a fake ID, so I bought us a bottle of whiskey. And we just like laid there like this, like straight arm, because we couldn't move at all. We just passed the whiskey bottle back and forth until we passed out.
No blankets. It was just the whiskey keeping us warm.
No blankets. Yeah, it was just, we were just on the floor of this tiny little tent. The next morning, I remember the next morning waking up and like I could barely move. I was just like trying to stand up. It was so bad. But I just remember feeling like, fuck, this is awesome. Like, this is so sick. I was like so happy just to be on tour, just the word being, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Did you guys sleep in that tent the rest of the tour as well?
I can't remember, honestly. I think the next night there were some family friends that we crashed with, and we slept in the van. We slept in the cars one night. That's as far as my memory goes.
Did you, I mean, going from the 2-person tent to where you guys are now, did you ever, I mean, I know you probably dreamt of it, but did you ever think it would actually come true? Like all the tours of Europe and all this cool shit that's been happening?
It's the kind of thing that you just think about every day when you're in a band. You think about it, at least for me, I thought about it every day since that time. And I just kept thinking, like, what if one day we could do this? You know, I just would daydream all the time. Of course, it felt impossible. It seemed impossible. It seemed impossible until about 2 years ago, really. Until it starts happening, does it actually seem real?
So what changed 2 years ago? Because that would have been around the time that COVID was kind of really hitting everywhere. So what kind of what shifted then during that time?
Well, it goes back a little farther than that. After we did that, the Andreas tour was the first time where we played for like more than 10 people in every city. Which was at the time was like epic. It was like, whoa, this is happening. This is crazy. It was like 50 people a night, which was awesome. And then shortly after that, we had no opportunities again, which is what most bands go through. It's just like, what do we do? We have nothing, but how do we figure this out? And then 2 months later, we got an offer to open for Bad Flower on their tour, which was, might as well have been struck by lightning. That's how like random and lucky that opportunity was. I mean, I had been like commenting on their posts and stuff, but they had us open for them, and that just kicked everything off. We got the record labels interested. We signed a record deal, I think 6 months after that. And then 6 months after that, we recorded the first album. Then we released the album. That was actually after the pandemic. So at the time of the pandemic, early 2020, we had just gotten signed, and we were like, "Wow, this is happening. This is going to be wild." Pandemic happened. Of course.
No.
Yeah, it was like, of course that's going to happen to us. That's supposed to happen. Everything's always supposed to go to shit. That's like a mentality. Everything is always failing at all times. So when the pandemic happened, we were super depressed. We were like, oh, fuck, man. Of course we get signed and then the world shuts down. Touring is gone. Some people thought it was gone forever. But I think we knew, like, we had been through so much shit at that point. We were like, it'll come back. We just got to wait it out. So we finished up the album, waited it out just like everybody else. And then we got on another tour and another tour and another tour. And it just, it started to do kind of this thing.
Yeah. I think it's so cool that you're still friends with like the Bad Flower dudes, and that you like this whole time, it's not like they had you open the once or anything. You guys keep touring and playing shows with each other, and you're going out on tour with them in Europe again, right? Here soon.
Yeah, dude, it's been amazing. It's like they're the sweetest guys on earth. They're just the very first tour, they let us on their tour bus. We'd hang out on their tour bus. We were nothing. I mean, like we were playing bars still, like local bars, and here they are like treating us like one of their own. So it was so nice of them. And then for them to have us back again, and now again, it's just like, count your blessings kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like kind of going back to the Andreas 2019 tour, I think you guys had just dropped American Blood, and I feel like it was doing really good. And I remember, throughout your whole set, each song that you guys kept playing, I was like, holy shit, this band is going to be huge. So it didn't surprise me when I was like, these guys just fucking took off.
Oh, well, thanks, dude. I appreciate that. I don't know if we felt that way, but that's right. Yeah, we did release that song, American Blood. I don't know if it did like well. I think it's done well over the years since then. But we definitely didn't have like a whoa, we're blowing up right now moment at that time. Not that we've had that at all, but yeah, we just sort of released music intermittently up until this last album. Now we're kind of on like a regular band schedule, which is what we always wanted, I think.
And kind of speaking of like this new album, I know we were kind of talking about it when you guys were here in Salt Lake, but is there anything you can kind of divulge or talk about the new album?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. And
do you already have a name in the artwork? I think we already talked about that.
We don't. I have a list of like 100 different album title ideas. And the album art folder, there's like dozens of different album art ideas. I think it's hard for us to come up with those things before the album is done. Because you really got to like feel the whole picture, hear the whole thing together. And we're really proud of some of the things we did on the last album. So we don't want to, we don't want to half-ass it for this one. Everything's, at least for me, has got to be just as original and unique, which is what I got out of what the last album was. But what we're doing now currently for this new album is we're basically treating it like a day job, which we didn't do for the last one. Every single day of the week, we basically meet at 11 a.m., work until night. We're on Zoom with our producer, just writing, demoing back and forth. It's really fun, but it's like we're really putting in a lot more work than we used to. And we have 30 or 40 demos that we're going through.
Dang.
There's a lot, some are just like a riff, a verse and a chorus, but we're really trying to iron out which ones feel the best. And that's really, really difficult to do, I've found.
Yeah, because you kind of probably equally like a lot of them, and it's hard to choose which ones are the best out of all of them, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And it depends on your mood too, So like one day you listen through your favorite demos and you go, this is literal trash. And then the next day every single one is a banger. So you're like trying to decide like, how the hell do I feel?
Yeah, I feel like unfortunately every like musician or artist has that problem where it's like a love-hate relationship with your work. One day you love it, the next day you're like, fuck, everything I do is shit. So it's like that back and forth, unfortunately. But that's so cool that you guys. So do you have like a date where you're like, all right, we have to cut it here and then make the decision here, so you don't just sit there and decide, go back and forth forever?
Yeah, well, what we do, and our producer's been helping with this, but we have a short list. That's what we call it. It's like the best ones that we like, and we're just going down the line. Like every day, we try to finish one or get halfway through one, and you know how it is. It doesn't always work. It's like 2 out of every 3 days is kind of they're duds. They're like, it was okay. That worked, but it's not like awesome. That's the other thing too. It's it's so hard to make something that feels awesome every single time, because you want to put a song together that makes sense, and sometimes it just makes sense, and that's not enough.
Do you find that kind of getting together consistently every day helps keep those kind of like creative juices flowing, or are there days when you're just like, I have nothing, like that you just have a total block?
I think it helps a lot. Yeah, I'm a proponent of putting in the hours and not waiting for creativity to hit you. But it has its pros and cons. When you're writing with a group like us, different people are excited at different times, so that helps. You don't always have to bring the energy, but it's tough sometimes to be positive and energetic if you're not in the mood, because you don't want to do it all the time. Like most of the time we want to do it, but not, you don't necessarily want to do it every single fucking day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there like a set, like we're going to do 10 songs or something like that? Can you talk about that or no?
Yeah, we have, it's a big mess. So we've recorded 5 or 6 songs so far. And we're demoing 3 or 4 right now this week. A lot of which we're really like so over the moon about. But we have really, what our time frame is that we have this month, which is 2 more weeks. Then we go to Europe. We plan on continuing the writing schedule while we're in Europe, because we're going to be on a tour bus with Bad Flower. We're sharing a tour bus.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we'll hopefully have time during the day to keep going and keep cranking along. And then when we get back in December, take a short break, and then all of January we resume. And we go back on tour in February, which we haven't announced yet. And then March is our final month to record. So there's definitely some time frames that we have to get everything done by.
So can you like say for sure that it'll be released in 2023?
Yeah, I mean it definitely will be.
All right, new music next year.
Yeah, definitely.
That's exciting. So like you were kind of saying, the writing process for this is you've been working so much harder. And was the writing process before like what you were saying, where you guys would kind of just slowly do it and have it come together then?
The writing process before was more like, how many songs have we written? Oh, we've written 8 songs. Okay, cool. That's enough for an album.
Would you guys just jam like in practice room, just jam them out then?
Yeah, it's a mix of jamming together in our rehearsal space and Jack and I demoing shit out on my computer.
That's how did, for instance, like a song like Low Air, how did that one come about?
That was just jamming.
Someone just came with like a riff and then just built off that?
Yeah, well, we used to live in a house together in Allston, Massachusetts, and we lived in this attic basically, and that was a period of time where we were really inspired for some reason. We all lived together, and that's when we sort of discovered the fretless guitar that I had in my closet. And Low Air, I remember we were in the attic, and I had this riff, the boom, 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 on my fretless, and Jack took out his guitar, and he was just like, yo, keep doing that, keep doing that. And he was like, dit, 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 and he just played it. It was like came out of nowhere. It was
just
like,
happened.
Yeah, we were both like, we love that. And then Nick, our bass player, was there, started doing that. I think it's like a little walking bass thing in the blues part. And it takes a lot for us to get excited. So it's got to be like really interesting in order for all four of us to get equally excited.
Was that attic that you're speaking of that you guys all lived in, is that the same one you shot the music video in? Like the black and white one?
No, we shot that behind a smoke shop that we all worked at.
Oh, I was gonna say it looks like like it's supposed to be like on a whole seedy was that like an abandoned building or something?
Yeah, so Boston has great architecture. So it's not too hard to find a spot that like looks cool to shoot a music video. We all worked at the same smoke shop in Boston. So we just went in the back parking lot and filmed it, rented the camera, that kind of thing. I think Jack did most of the filming. And we're all when we have our music videos, all of us are like going crazy, like with ideas. It can get like really heated sometimes. It's part of the fun. It's just like all like bursting with ideas. We love directing music videos, but that one was like super DIY. We also recorded Low Air in the basement of the smoke shop.
No way.
Wow.
Can you say what the smoke shop is so all your fans can go there and be like, oh, it's the smoke shop?
Yeah. Well, Boston Smoke Shop on Newberry Street was the one that we worked at, and the owner of the place is this really great guy. He owns a number of smoke shops in Boston, and there was another one that had a warehouse basement, and we asked him, can we just like set up our drums in the basement after hours and record some music? So we put like blankets everywhere. We had no money, so we got like $400 together, and we bought an interface from Guitar Center, 16 channel interface, Focusrite. And we set up the mics in the basement of this smoke shop, recorded the drums to Low Air, returned the interface, so we got the money back. We spent literally $0 on that recording.
Yes.
Dude, it's move. It's the best move ever. It's great. We did that for years. Like we didn't own anything.
So kind of going from Boston then, where you guys were all going to school, what was like the spark or the inspiration then from going like, let's move to California. Let's leave, the East Coast.
We weren't making any progress in Boston. I don't know what it was. I don't know if there just wasn't a big enough scene, or maybe the timing was wrong, but we'd been playing gigs for years and we weren't seeing it materialize. There weren't more people coming. They say, oh, play a gig, sell some tickets, more people will come back to the next one. It just wasn't happening, and we couldn't figure out why. And we needed to go somewhere where things were happening, where there was more opportunity, So we picked California, and we just pulled the trigger one day. I basically texted Jack and I said, you want to leave on Friday?
And what day was that? Like the beginning of the week, like a Monday or something?
Yeah, it was like a Monday.
Damn.
Because it was the middle of the summer. We had talked about going to California, and then it kind of dwindled away, the idea, and it just hit me. I was like, what are we doing, dude? What are we doing? We got to go now. So I just texted him, like, let's go. And we left, and it was just freaking shit show since.
It sounds like you're the driving force of the band, though. Like, oh, we got to go on the tour. We got to go to California. That's what it seems like.
In the early days, I think they would agree with me. Now everybody's on board 100%. It's been that way for years. But I think it's important that at least one person is super driven in the beginning.
Were you guys living in that attic then when you moved?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I mean, so was it just like, I guess to kind of go into detail, was it like a really small attic and all four of you were just in an open room?
It's actually a big house.
Oh, okay.
And we lived in the attic, Jack and I. Will and his girlfriend lived on the main floor. We spent most of our time up in that attic recording. We had like little home studios set up. It was just the dingiest house. Most of the houses in Allston, Massachusetts are like beaten to shit. I mean, the staircase you couldn't even walk on it, I don't think.
Oh no. Every time you're going up, you're like, ah.
It had a charm to it though. It had a charm.
I bet. So then when you guys finally moved out to California, I remember talking to Jack back in like 2019. He was saying like he worked at the Apple store and all that kind of stuff. When you guys first came out here, were you like, fuck, we got to get jobs or we got to get a place to stay? Or because you said on Monday, like, let's leave on Friday. Did you just come out there with no plan to move in somewhere?
Yep, it was the dumbest decision of my life, actually.
Hmm.
But looking back, it might be the smartest.
Well, yeah, it was both the dumbest and the smartest. I think I can say honestly, because my grandparents handed me down their old Ford Taurus car, which was like awesome. It was like, oh, I got a free car. This is amazing. So we loaded up the car, everything we owned, and the car, like, I'm not even kidding, the back of it was touching the ground, like maybe off the ground. The suspension was. I remember we packed it, and I said to Jack, I said, "Dude, I think we have too much stuff in this car." And he said, "Oh, dude, it'll be fine. It'll be fine." So we just left. We had no place to stay. We had no money, no job, but we didn't think about that yet. So we got to Colorado. We were driving from Boston.
Damn, you made it all the way to Colorado.
Made it all the way to Colorado. The car broke down. Transmission blew. We left the car there, like abandoned it in a parking lot.
Got it for free anyways. It's fine.
Well, we the transmission to fix it was like $2,500.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, at that point, you can just get a new car.
Yeah, we didn't have $2,500, so we didn't even have a choice. We had like $1,000 between us or something. So we rented a U-Haul, got the rest of the shit out there, and we just started crashing around people's places. Like I had 4 friends scattered around SoCal, so we spent like a week at one of my friends' places, week at another place, applying.
Wait. Sorry, take this back. So you just pull up to your friend's house on a U-Haul filled with all your shit. Like, hey, can we crash here? And
Yeah.
then you obviously have to return the U-Haul. So you just, each time you move, you have to just throw all your shit in each person's house? Or is someone letting you crash all the stuff at one person's house or something?
It was like that for a little bit, and then Jack bought a car. He did like the monthly payment thing. So he bought like a used car, and that's how we got around. We shared the used car.
I thought you were going to say you bought a car from Guitar Center and then you just returned it.
Yeah, exactly. I wish. That would have been ideal.
Yeah.
You got the one car, you're all sharing it to like get around to jobs?
We're actually looking for a place to live, and this is where we ran into this crazy issue where we actually got I forget what the term is, but we technically got evicted from our place in Boston for being too loud. We went to court over it. We thought it was fine. We thought we didn't get evicted, but I'm blanking on the term. There's a term where you get evicted from a place, but they let you stay there till the end of the lease.
Huh.
So we basically had an eviction notice on our records, both of us. So
Oh, no.
we were like 10 out of 10 fucked.
Yeah.
Because we applied for these places. They
10 out of
said,
10.
you have an eviction on your record. We can't let you rent this. So we're like sitting in this. I remember we were sitting in I think it was a Papa John's parking lot. We picked up a pizza. We're just sitting there like in the parking lot eating the pizza, just like, what the fuck are we gonna do, dude? We're fucked. Like it felt like we were fucked. And then Jack and I had moved out before the other guys in the band. They were still in Boston. It was like a real crossroads. We were like, shit, are we just gonna break up? 'Cause this like isn't working. We don't know where we're gonna live. And then I think a few days went by. We borrowed money from some friends, and we just rented an Airbnb for like a month. We had enough money to rent an Airbnb for a month. And towards the end of the Airbnb, we got really lucky. The host said, "My lease is up. Do you guys want it?" And we didn't have to like put our credit check.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we were like, "Oh my god, okay." So we got a place. We had it for a year.
It was meant to be, man.
Meant to be, dude. Like,
You guys got such a cool like beginning story too, like such humble beginnings and grinding, and it's so inspirational too. Because I'm sure there's a lot of bands out there that would hear this and think like, thinking because a lot of people when they see a band blow up, they're like, oh, they just got lucky and it just happened. They didn't see all the years of grinding and working and to get to that point. So it's awesome to hear like through going through all that shit, you guys made it and it actually happened for you. It's so cool.
thank you, man. Yeah, I wouldn't believe what you just said 3 years ago, but
Yeah, like who knows, man? That's crazy. Just a matter of a couple years, how much your life can change.
I know.
It's insane.
I know. I pinch myself, dude. It's pretty wild.
So what was like? So then you finally get the lease. You're doing that kind of stuff. You do those tours. What was the first show or tour moment when it's like, fuck, like people are into this. Like we're starting to do like crazy shit. Like when you're going over and playing like in Europe and stuff.
Well, there's a little bit of that every year, I think. And every year it's a little bit more of it. And I'm just hoping that keeps up. But the first one was um, on that Bad Flower tour, that first Bad Flower tour. I remember the first show I think we played was in Chicago. And we went out on stage, and I think there were like 800 or 900 people there, which was about 10 times the size of the biggest audience I think we'd played for. And it was just like the crowd was screaming so loud. We got off stage, and it was just like the biggest adrenaline rush of my life. So that was like one of the first ones where it was like, whoa, what is happening? This is insane. And then there's moments online, you know, on Spotify where you look at the streams. And that's even harder to kind of comprehend because you have no control over it. So you just look at this number. You're just like, where did that come from? Like this is not real. These people are not real. And then Europe, the first like wow moment in Europe was when we played London for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been the best night of my life still, because we played London and we played this like really dingy venue. It was like a floor show. I think there were maybe 150 or 200 people there. And I didn't think anybody was going to know who we were. I thought we were going to play for like 35 people or something. Mm-hmm. And the way the venue's set up is we go straight to the backstage, which was like a little hallway. And we didn't see who was out there. We were like really tired. And then there's this door that opens up and it's just right onto the stage. You just walk onto the stage. And so we walked onto the stage at our set time and the place was packed. People were screaming, which was awesome. And we opened with our song, Bury Me Whole, which I didn't even think many people knew. And right away when we started, the crowd was like deafening. Like you couldn't even hear Jack singing. They were singing so loud. And the whole, like right from the beginning of the set, I was just like shaking. Like, this is not real. This is not real. It felt like it was out of a movie.
Dude, that's such a, I mean, like, as far as like adrenaline rushes, there's like surprises, like that's the best surprise ever.
Oh my God, dude. It was like, yeah, it was a rush of a lifetime. And then we got off stage and it was hard to just like
come back down.
Yeah. It's like, what? Like, did you see that? You almost want to go outside and have everybody like be like, wow, that was crazy. Go outside, it's just regular life. You're like, how do I come down from this? That was crazy. But
that's so tight, dude. So like, I mean, you guys have been touring a lot ever since then. So do you have some like, I mean, besides Jack shitting his pants, is there any other like super funny stories that you can think of for a tour?
Jack shitting his pants was probably the funniest.
Were you guys all in the same car when it happened too? And you're like, what the fuck? And like smelt it or? Yeah,
I would. I'm not even going to try to do it justice. The way the story is so funny. You guys will have to have him on and have
for sure.
That. It is a classic. It has become a DPS classic.
A DPS classic. Oh man.
Do you have a favorite place that you've played over all these shows?
Yeah, I think like, okay, so favorite city for me is either Prague or Amsterdam. I think probably Amsterdam. It's the cliche, but have you guys ever been to Amsterdam?
No.
Not to Amsterdam yet.
It's as soon as you get there, you just like, you get it. It's just, it's just such a perfect place. It's nothing but coffee shops and weed stores everywhere.
Yeah, just the best thing ever.
Yeah, it's great. And they're actually one and the same. So you go to the coffee shop and you order a joint and a coffee.
Which is like, why can't we have that here?
Dude, it's like,
it makes perfect sense.
So we had David Flynn on, the bass player of Chelsea Grin, and he said his favorite place to play, or one of the places, was like Prague in Europe, or like Russia and those kind of places too, because the crowds just go so crazy. Like the fans are so much more dedicated because they just don't get that kind of stuff. They're like, here in the States, everyone's spoiled with so much music and stuff. Over there, they don't get as much. So is that why Prague's one of your favorites?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm trying to think. I get kind of confused because we played a festival called Rock for People in Prague. It was near Prague, which was crazy. But Prague looks like Disneyland when you go. It's just like, it looks like someone fabricated the whole place. You walk through the city, and it's just every corner you turn is like this. These are real buildings. This is a real place. It's awesome. That's why I love Prague. The fans were crazy all over Europe. It was like, it was next level. It was just the energy that every crowd brought was mind blowing. Really, every single show, like huge for our band too. We're not really a metal band, but the pits were huge in every city.
That's so cool.
All kids. It was like, that's exactly what I've always wanted. I love pits. So it was, and people don't usually mosh. This past tour we did in the States, there were quite a few pits, but that was the first time where we had seen like legit pits every single show. It was great. In the Netherlands, we played this festival called Pink Pop Festival.
Oh yeah, that's legendary.
When we got the offer, I really didn't believe it. It didn't make any sense because we were one of the only rock bands on the bill. Well, there were a few others, but we were the only like rock band that's in the kind of scene that we're in, I guess. There were well-known rock bands. I think it was it still feels like it was a fluke that we were allowed on that. But
yeah, I mean, when you say Pink Pop, I think of like Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and all those dudes playing like that legendary festival.
Yeah, it is like a seriously legendary festival. I think Imagine Dragons headlined that night or something. But
wow.
That was still the craziest show and day of our lives. And I know I said that about London.
Well, up until that point.
Yeah.
Up until that point, yeah. That one was that was the first time we played for like multiple thousands of people. And
so what was it like then? Like, so were you just in the green room behind the stage, just being like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, and then you go out and you see everybody and just.
It was actually similar to the London headline gig that I told you about. So we just went around the back, and the stage, it was like tucked away, so we didn't think anybody was going to be there. And we were backstage. We hadn't been within 1,000 miles of the Netherlands, so we were like, no one's going to be here. And I said to Will, I was like, if 200 people are out there, I'll be excited. And then we're like sitting backstage, and we had no idea what was going on out there. And then our manager who came with us, Jeremy, he comes back and he goes, there's quite a few people out there. And we were like,
well, how many?
You like a dozen or?
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean? And I didn't even go look because I remember just thinking he's exaggerating.
He's just trying to be nice or something.
And then we walked out, and it was, dude, that feeling of like walking out to that many people. I'll never forget that feeling. It was just like, it was like staring at the Grand Canyon. I don't know if you've been to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. You're like,
when you go
well,
to the
how
Grand
could this be
Canyon
so
for the first
big?
time, it takes like 5 or 6 seconds to like realize that what you're seeing is real. You see like the cliffs, and it's just like, wow, this is real. So when we went out on stage, it was like, you just kind of do one of these things. You're just like, what am I?
Were you shaking at that one too? Or at that point you're just like into it?
Dude, uncontrollably. I had to, like, the entire set, I was trying to like breathe deep and calm myself down. Because I like, it didn't feel like we were supposed to be there.
Yeah.
This is a fucking accident. This is someone fucked up. But we just, we did
We're
it.
going to start our set and they're going to realize we're not the band they thought.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
They thought it was Robin Williams.
Yeah, they thought it was the movie.
They thought it was the soundtrack to the movie. So like playing like these legendary festivals like Pink Pop and you know Reading and all these really cool festivals, have you got to meet some cool famous like idols of yours?
Yeah, so we met that very day. I met the drummer of Turnstile.
No way.
Yeah, so we're all big fans of them, just like everybody else. But we went backstage. We kind of watched them from side stage, and then I met the drummer. Such a nice guy, super nice. Had a brief conversation, and Pink Pop is really cool because they have this. They call it the Artist Village, and it's like a 5-star dining experience. It's just
damn.
Feel So I saw a lot of artists walking by. I'm not super into like going up to people. I get pretty nervous, but I saw a number of artists that didn't expect to see. We also that day met Dermot Kennedy. Have you heard of him?
I don't think so.
He's a big pop artist from Ireland. We're all big
Oh.
fans of him. We got to meet him that day too, which was really surreal for me. He's like pop level. So he was just on tour with Shawn Mendes.
Oh, okay.
So it's a totally different world. Met him. A lot of times you just see artists walking around when you're back there, which is cool. Because I like I said, I feel like I'm not supposed to be there, so it's like really cool to see
So
those people.
is it just like, oh, well, there's Bono or something like that? You're like, what the fuck?
If it was Bono, I would melt. I think because Bono is like one of my biggest inspirations. But I remember I saw Miles Kennedy in the cafeteria at one of
What?
the festivals. Yeah,
Are you serious?
yeah, and
That's so cool.
yeah, you see people walking around. I don't typically go up to people and introduce myself, but it's pretty wild experience at those festivals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say that like the imposter syndrome thing is like a thing for you? Because obviously you keep saying like I shouldn't be here, but I mean you definitely do deserve to be there and you should be. So is like the imposter syndrome thing like real for you?
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I agree with the word deserved because a lot of the songs that we still play live
Mhm.
are popular with our fans. Have been out for 5-6 years, so it's like, why weren't we playing those shows then? Like nobody fucking cared about us 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and so that makes me think like, since we didn't just write one song and everything took off. It was like the timing, something in the universe, our hard work played a part in it. But there's so much that goes into getting these opportunities that I'm not sure that we deserve it more than there are thousands of bands around the world that are making great music, hundreds of bands in every place that we live. And they're just never going to get heard. They're never going to get opportunities. And it could be because they don't work hard, but it also could be just because a lot of it is just random. I think a lot of it is random. And I think there's an element of each, but there are a lot of bands that deserve these spots is really my main point. A lot of bands deserve to be playing for larger audiences, and only a handful get picked.
That's a good way to put
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
that's a
no
good
one's ever
point.
said that. Yeah,
Yeah.
eloquently put.
Yeah, I mean, I do still think there is an element, like you said, of maybe the hard work aspect, because I do think, like, the fact that you haven't just seen from a single song some sort of like boost, I think it does speak more to, a level of dedication and hard work. So I think that's, for me, that would be a little bit, I guess, assuring that there's not going to be, some like sudden drop off. It's like a steady trajectory. So it's a little bit more,
Yeah.
predictable and sustainable.
Yeah, it feels a little bit more secure because
Yeah.
we've done it for so long and we haven't had any overnight success. So that part is reassuring.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And there are a lot of bands that don't have that, I think, that have been around for a couple years and had one song take off. And I always just think like, man, following that up and keeping up that success, that's got to be tough. That's got to be hard. I mean, it's not as hard as not blowing up.
True. I kind of wanted to go back a little bit to the writing process a little bit, because I know you were talking about how with Dead Poet Society, you don't want to be too heavy, you don't want it to be too soft. So when you're writing, do you actually have sometimes where you like come up with something you're like, oh, I'm kind of liking this, but like, actually it's too soft, we can't use it?
Well, it's actually more like that's just what ends up being the thing that we like. So when we write, we have absolutely no barriers, boxes. We try to write with none of that.
Okay.
If it's just got to come from a place of inspiration. So but what ends up happening is that we write something, we love it, and we go, oh, but it doesn't feel quite heavy enough, so we make it heavier. Or, oh, it's a little too heavy. Let's try clean guitars on this, just because it's just not it. If we lean towards one side, it just becomes less interesting for us.
Okay.
So I think the four of us have like really developed a pretty specific taste for what we want to hear out of our music. Something I'm always struggling with, really, and every artist struggles with, I'm sure, is when you're writing, is keeping other people's voices out of your head. And that's getting harder, actually, as the years have gone by, because when we were making music originally, literally nobody cared, not even our friends. So we could put out whatever we wanted. No one was going to listen to it no matter what. So there was no fucking pressure. But now we have a record label, an A&R guy, a manager, fans, and there's a lot more voices in our head now. We have a producer, we have all this, and it's increasingly more difficult to push those out of the way and just go, fucking none of it matters. Like, we're making music for ourselves, and that's it. We just have to make music that we love.
So have you had that kind of struggle then with like, you know, the Suits, where you're like, no, this is like a good song, we're really proud of this, and they're like, well, we don't think it's a hit.
Yeah, I mean, I've been amazed at how cliche everything has been. Like, when you're trying to make it in a band in your early 20s, you're just constantly, at least I was, just constantly like daydreaming and fantasizing. What would it be like if we had a record label, and what would it be like if we were under this kind of stress, blah, blah, blah. I kind of already thought about like what it could be like years ago. And it's really true. It's like, I love our A&R guy. But there's definitely some like, oh, but you guys do the blues thing so well. Like, let's not forget about that. And then it's like, and it's like, but dude, we don't write with like going into something going like, we need another heavy blues song, or we need another one of these. And if we do, it usually doesn't make anything good. The stuff that we like continuously gravitate towards is stuff that's like just shit that comes out that's just unexpected wherever it lands.
I feel like anything that's forced never turns out like good. Like if you try to force something it's just not going to be good. It's got to just come out naturally and be what it is.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's what I think. Definitely.
But it's like they don't know because they've never written a song. You know what I mean? They only wish they could do that, so they just think, oh, I got to put my stamp on it or whatever, and kind of tell you like, oh, maybe you should write every song in the third person or something. You know what I mean? It's like, no, that's not. Like, I'm the artist. Let me do the work. You figure out how to promote it or whatever. Like, don't tell the person how to create their art because you hired me to do this job, which obviously I can do. It's interesting. Well, you do the blues thing so well.
The one advantage I think that I've noticed with our label and some other bands on labels that we've met is our label is pretty open to like us doing whatever we want. They pretty much let us, they'll, like what I said, they'll say things like that sometimes, but for the most part, we just do whatever we want. And it seems like that's just how things are going, which is really nice. I mean, I was listening to the John Frusciante interview with Rick Rubin, and he said that, I forget what it was, maybe in the 90s, the label had so much control over the Chili Peppers that they were releasing stuff without telling them. And I just thought about that. I was like, what?
Yeah, that'd be the worst.
Dude, I would lose my mind. Like, so I thought about that. And I was like, okay, that's kind of an advantage now, I guess. Maybe it's with the internet or something and artists just having more control, or maybe that's just our situation. But it does seem like artists have more control than they used to in recent decades. Maybe that's because there's less money involved too.
Yeah, it definitely could be. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think kind of like what you're saying, like when it's not forced, like when a band can just do what they want to do and what they gravitate towards, it's usually a better product. So, I mean, maybe it would be nice if the reason is because people are just finally seeing that what people want to create is what usually makes a better product. But I don't know if that's necessarily true, or I mean, necessarily the reason is what I'm saying.
It's got to be a part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The labels must understand that. I think also labels understand that they're not as much in demand as they used to be.
Mm.
You know, they don't hold the reins. Maybe the biggest ones do with the pop artists, but so many artists are successful on their own every single day, and that seems to be happening more and more, not less and less. You know, especially with like TikTok and stuff. Like,
True.
every day I see a new fucking band on TikTok that seems to be blowing up, and I love that. I think it's sick. So I think that's one advantage of what's happening now. I definitely think that independent artists have more opportunity than ever before. I think even more than like when YouTube came out, or even more than when like Vine came out. Or
yeah. I feel like we all have. I mean, that's the kind of cool thing now is like they kind of cut out the middleman in a lot of cases, and you can just anybody anywhere can, you know, has the keys to success to just upload to Spotify or whatever it is, and just if it goes, it goes. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. We have yet to have like real viral success on the internet. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but.
So because you kind of mentioned that you guys love doing like the music videos and that side. So has every music video you guys have done, have you been like really hands on the whole thing, like story, filming, and all of that?
So we try to let whose ever creative idea it was sort of take the reins. So, and we have worked with directors. Like the last music video we put out was for our song called Salt. That we did with a friend of ours, and he crushed it, and he did most of the directing. Him and Jack did a lot of co-directing because it was his concept. My favorite video we've ever made is for our song Swarm, and that one was fully directed by us. And we were just throwing shit at the wall the whole time. It was so awesome. It was just, we had a little bit of a concept, and then when we got in there, it was just like, let's try this, let's do this, let's do this. And I get like a serious rush out of music videos sometimes, and I don't consider myself an expert whatsoever on it, but you can really, like, if you have the tools. So we hired like a DP and a lighting guy, and they were pros, so they could do anything we asked them, which was awesome. It was like, how can we make it look like it's like only his lips up really close, and we just had them. If you watch the video, you'll know what I mean. But we had them try just the weirdest shit, like, and our DP was like, "You sure? You try that?" And anytime someone does that, like a producer or director, anytime they go like, "Are you sure?" Like, that's what gets me excited.
Yeah, because it means you're doing something original.
Yeah, dude. Everybody gets scared when you try something truly like out there. People get scared, like they're always just like hesitant. I love that hesitancy. That makes me want to like dive forward.
That's how you know it's going right.
Or like if someone laughs, like if you suggest an idea and everybody laughs, like that's good. Like
that's so good.
Be trying the stupid, like dumb ideas. Those are our song "Bury Me Whole." It starts out with a blues riff, and then it comes in with this like down, which is a fretless riff. And Jack had the blues riff. And I remember saying to him, like, dude, what if I just came in with this right after that blues riff? And he started cracking up. He was like, no, dude, that's a terrible idea. He was laughing. And I was like, we're trying it right now. We're going to do it. And those are always the ideas that like get us emotionally to that next level. The ones that are the dumbest ideas.
I was listening to a John Mayer interview, and he said that's for everything that he does, that's what he's aiming for. Yeah. He's like, if everyone's like laughing, not even like in a comical sense, or like, you know, when people are like think something's so cool, or can't, like people just uncontrollably laugh at something, they're like, that's so amazing, they just laugh. He's like, that is what I'm trying to do for every song or everything that I do. If people aren't laughing, then I know it's probably not that good.
Yeah, I know. I saw that clip. Actually, I know what you're talking about. I think he means the laughing that comes when something's so good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
which is another angle of it. I meant the laughing of when people are making fun of you.
Oh, okay.
Like it's so bad they can't help but laugh. That's what I love that. But what John Mayer was talking about, I also love that too, because it's when you laugh when something is so good, then you know it's good. It's like the same thing as getting chills, I think, or goosebumps.
Yeah. I think in both cases, it's got like it's almost a sense of like vulnerability. So like if you can kind of make people let their guard down a little bit, then you almost can like kind of get them. You can take control a little bit more with the song.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about bringing that guard down.
Yeah.
So then when someone's like laughing at you and you say you'd like lean forward, you're like, okay, why are you laughing at that? Like, let's try it because this could actually be something cool.
Yeah, because if you think about it, you're like, artists, we always have trouble trying to come up with something new, something that makes us feel different. If you think about it, like the things that make you feel new and different are the things that are absurd, for me at least. Like the things that seem like bad ideas are the ones that you should be trying out. If you're like writing a song and everything you're doing seems like a good idea and this will work, it's probably going to be boring. You need some bad ideas, some ideas that are like, this is definitely not going to work. Let's try it.
That's such a
I
cool,
like that.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
such a cool way to look at it. Yeah, I've never heard anyone say that before. That's so cool. But I mean, that maybe that's why you guys are different and why you said, you don't deserve it, but it's like you're obviously doing something right.
Yeah, I think so. We still have a long ways to go. We're still it almost feels like we're just at the very beginning of it now, even though we've been at it for so long.
Well, I think that's also your good like mindset to be in, like where you've been, like let's just do it. We got to go. We got to do it. I feel like the people that are usually like have a big ego and they're like, oh, we're the biggest thing in the world, are usually the ones that stop like doing anything of note. They just kind of just plateau. You're like, okay, you did one cool thing, but then you got like your ego about it. You didn't want to keep working, and you just kind of just no one thinks about you anymore.
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. If as soon as you start to think that like your music is awesome, like what is the fucking point? What it's like, but I always remind myself like it does not matter how many people compliment us or it's I still have to believe that our music is not good enough. It's just that's how I look at it personally. And it doesn't mean it doesn't mean there's nothing that I'm proud of. It's not like a pessimistic thing. It's just kind of like if it was good enough, I would know. Like I feel like I would know and the world would know. It's just like there's so much more room. It needs to get better and you can feel it and you can hear it. I can at least where I listen and I go, there's room. There's like still so much room for it to improve. I think there's a point that we can get to where it really ticks off all the boxes for me personally. And I don't know exactly where that is yet, but over the years, every single year we get a little bit closer to it with the music at least. So it's like it feels like we're getting there. We're getting there.
Man, all this is making me really excited for your new album.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It sounds like you guys are working really hard on it too, which is I mean, that's what's awesome about it. Yeah.
Thank you, dude. I hope it delivers.
Is it one of those things where you're like, I kind of can't wait for it to be over, or are you just enjoying every bit of it?
I love it. I'm obsessive. Like I'm one of those musicians that it takes a couple hours for me to fall asleep because the gears keep going. So it's that and surfing are the only two things I like to do. So it's not really like I would love for it to be done and finished right now. I would love for someone to just fucking finish it for me. That would be sick. But I do love the process. I love the feeling the other day. We wrote something, and when you write something that feels genuine and authentic and new, which are the three of the biggest, like most important things for me. When you cross into that territory when you're writing something, the rush is like so indescribable for me. It's like my heart starts racing. Sometimes I'll get teary-eyed. Like it's just like the biggest reward of anything on earth is like writing a song that really connects with you personally. Just something that you don't even know how you could do it, how you could produce, like how it could come out of you, and then it just does, and it comes out. That feeling to me is such a drug. It's like the biggest drug in the world.
So would you say that like that when you come up with a song and writing it, that's a bigger rush than like playing the stages and those festivals like you said, or are they like equal or?
One of them is like I actually think about this. The stages are a big adrenaline rush.
Mhm.
When the crowd sings along, it's an emotional rush. That's like everything's just like it's all coming. It's real life. This is actually happening when we're playing live. That is a really amazing feeling. But the feeling of writing a song that you think could connect with those same people and maybe more and really impact people's lives, that feeling is like it's like inventing a new product or something. It's like discovering something in the ground. It's just like this feeling of like, whoa. I just discovered something.
Yeah. You just created something that didn't exist before.
Exactly. It's so, I don't know, maybe creators of all kinds understand that feeling, but it can just be so powerful and so all consuming. It's very similarly to performing live. It can be hard to come down from it. You finish the song and you just go, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
How can I top that?
Yeah.
You go, what do I just go to bed? Like, it's really different. But both feelings I love. Both feelings of satisfaction I love. So I just feel so lucky to be able to experience both of those things.
Man, I feel like that's a really good spot to end.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again for coming on, man. It was an absolute pleasure. We look forward to the new album and, have a good time on tour with Bad Flower out in Europe.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. This was a blast.
Thank
Of course.
you, man. Yeah. We'll catch you next time, man.
All right, guys, sounds good.
Thanks for listening to You Guys Shred.